Hello, my name is Olivia Ryan, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create a school supplies pouch. For this pouch, you are going to need an outer fabric, an inner lining fabric, and 2 pieces of batting. For each of these, they're all going to be 11 inches by 8 inches in width and length. You're also going to need a piece of 2.5 inches by 8 inches of fabric. It can be inner or outer, it doesn't matter. And you're going to need a 14-inch zipper. As well as these, you're also going to need any equipment and supplies that you need to make your pouch. To start, your first step is going to be to take your 2.5 by 8 inch piece of fabric. You're going to want to flip it over so that the wrong side is facing up, and then you're going to want to fold it in half long ways. You can iron it so that there will be a crease on the inside. Then you're going to want to unfold it, and you're going to see that crease on the inside. And you're going to take both sides of your fabric, and you're going to fold it in towards the crease. And then you're going to iron it so that when you're done, it's going to look like this. After you iron it all, and it looks like this, you're going to take it, and you're going to fold it once again long ways so that these edges on the outside meet up. Then you're going to sew as close to the edge as you possibly can to close this outer edge. When you finish, it should look like this. Now remember, sew as close as you can to the outer edge without going off, and don't sew the short edges because it is unnecessary to do so. Later in this project, you will be folding this in half and cutting it in half so that you can make your handles. For your next step, you're going to want to have 1 piece of your batting, 1 piece of your outer fabric, and 1 piece of your inner fabric. You're also going to need your zipper, some chalk, and a ruler. To start with, you're going to take your piece of batting and your piece of outer fabric. You're going to lay the outer fabric onto the batting so that the right side is up. Do your best to line up all the edges so that they match. Once you have your outer fabric laying on top of your batting fabric, you're going to take your zipper and you're going to lay it teeth down on top of your outer fabric, and you're going to line up the edge of the zipper with the edge of the fabric. Then you're going to take your inner fabric and lay it down on top of all of this, right sides together. You're going to line up the edge of the inner fabric with the edge of the zipper and the edge of the outer fabric and the batting. Once you have it all lined up, you're going to take your ruler and you're going to make marks 1/2 inch from the edge of your inner fabric. On the top and on the bottom. These marks are to show you where to sew. When you start sewing, you're going to start on the inside of these marks, back stitch to the mark that you made, sew all the way down, stop at this mark down here, and back stitch to finish it. Now you're going to want to pin this, and when you pin it and sew it, be careful not to catch the teeth of the zipper in your sewing, otherwise your zipper will not work. Once you have pinned this and you have sewn this, it's going to look like this. You want to do your best, again, to make sure that your thread is inside of the marks that you made and that it is as close to the edge as you can get it without going off. And make sure not to catch the teeth. Then you're going to unfold it like this and lay it out so that when you lay it out, you're going to have your inner fabric on the bottom, your batting in the middle, and your outer fabric on the top. Your next step is going to be to take your second piece of batting, your second piece of outer fabric, and your second piece of inner fabric. Now, once you have this piece that you've already sewn, you're going to want to go ahead and flip it so that the inner is facing up. Then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Again, we're going to take our piece of outer fabric, line it up to the edges like this. Once you have it as lined up as you can get it, you want to take your piece that you already sewn, remember, zipper teeth down, and you're going to want to line up the far side of the zipper with the edge of your fabric and your batting. And you're also going to want to line up the top edges of both of these fabric pieces and the bottom edge. Once you've got it lined up, you're going to take your piece of inner fabric, lay it down, wrong sides together, and once again, line it up with the zipper, your outer fabric, and your batting. Also line it up with the tops of your fabrics and the bottom of your fabrics. Once everything is lined up, again, you're going to want to make your marks, which I've already made, 1/2 inch from the edge of the fabric. And again, you're going to want to start on the inside of the mark, back stitch to the mark, so all the way down to the bottom mark, and then back stitch again to finish it. Then now you're going to want to pin everything together and sew it. And again, when you sew it, be very careful to sew as close as you can to the edge without going off. Catch all the fabrics, the zipper, the batting, the outer and the inner fabric, and to not catch the teeth of the zipper, because again, your zipper will not work if you catch the teeth. So once you have sewed it, this is what it looks like when it's finished. Now you can open it up, make sure that you get all your fabrics, and you can double check it to make sure that you didn't catch the teeth of the zipper in it. And this is what it's going to look like. You're going to have your sandwiches on both sides, inner batting, outer, inner batting, outer. Your next step is going to be to take the outer fabric and the batting from each side, and once you've got separated from the line fabric, you're going to want to line them up together so that the edges match up as best as they can. Then once your edges are matched up, you're going to take your ruler and you're going to mark a 1/2 inch seam allowance from the edge, and you're going to do that all the way down. So once you've got your 1/2 inch seam allowance line all the way down from the top to the bottom, you're going to pin it, and then you're going to sew all the way along this line. Once you have sewn your outer fabric and your batting together on the 1/2 inch seam allowance line that you made before, you're going to take your inner fabric and you're going to do basically the same thing. You're going to line up the edges and you're going to make your 1/2 inch seam allowance on the entire fabric, except that when you reach the middle, you're going to leave a 3-inch gap, and you're going to make the marks this way. So now you can make your 1/2 inch line all the way here, but you're not going to sew between these two lines. So now you can sew along your 1/2 inch seam allowance on both sides, but do not sew in this gap, leave it open. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of loop fabric that you folded and sewed in the beginning. You're going to fold it in half, lining up the short edges together. And then you're going to take a pair of fabric scissors and you're going to cut it right in half, so that now you have 2 pieces of your loops. Next, you're going to take your pouch that you ironed flat with the seams, and you're going to fold the inner fabric in and pin it as you go so that stays. You want to fold it out of the way of the outer fabric so that it does not get in the way of our next step. and fold it as much as you need to. Your next step is going to be to flip it over so that your outer seam side is up. You're going to take one of your loops that you cut in half. You're going to line up the short edges, and then you're going to insert it in here, loop first, and line it up with the edge of your fabric. Lay it right down on top of the zipper, and then line it up with both edges of the fabric. Once you've got it lined up, you're going to pin it in here, and it is very thick, so just do your best. You may not be able to pin it properly, but that's okay. Just do your best. And now when you're sewing across here, and obviously you can remove these pins, when you're gonna sew across here with a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, and you're going to be very careful not to catch the lining fabric in. It is okay to sew across the zipper, however, because we are going to be snipping it off when we are done with this. Now, this next side is a little bit harder than the other one. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your zipper and you're going to zip it down 1/4 of the way, as far as you can get it down there. Then you're going to take a pin and you're going to pin your lining fabric back so that you don't catch it when you're sewing. Now, you're going to flip it over again, fold your loop fabric in half, and insert in loop first on top of the zipper, lining up with the edges of the fabric. Now, you're going to flip it back over, and you're going to pin it all. And when you pin it, you want to make sure that you catch the zipper in the pin. So you're going to get the zipper as close together as you can. Double check that your loop is in the right place. And then you're going to pin it all together. The fabric, the loop, and the zipper. Once you've pinned it all together and you've made sure that you've got the zipper teeth as close together as you can get them, now you can sew another 5/8 seam all the way down across the zipper to the bottom. Now, once you've sewed both of the sides of the outer fabric and the batting, you're going to unpin your inner fabric. Smooth it out as needed and take an iron to it if you need to. Then you're going to flip it over and you're going to pin your batting and outer fabric out of the way, just like you did for the inner fabric. Once you've got this pinned out of the way, you're going to want to sew along the edge of the inner fabric. But when you do it, you want to be careful, because when you're sewing along this edge, you want to catch the zipper. You want to catch the zipper in this outer edge, but you want to not catch the batting and outer fabric. Because if you don't catch the zipper and these little 1/2-inch tabs that you left in the very beginning, you're going to have a hole in the side of your pouch. So you want to do your best. You may have to try a couple times, but you want to do your best to catch the zipper and the little tabs on both sides of your pouch. Now on this side it should be easier, but either way you're still going to have to do your best to catch the zipper and the fabric without catching the batting and outer fabric. Once you've sewn these sides of your lining fabric, you're going to now take out the pins of your outer and batting fabric so that you can unfold it. Iron your wrinkles out if you need to. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take your ruler, and I'm using a sewing gauge, And I'm going to move it to 3/4 of an inch, because what we're going to do now is we're going to make squares along each of the 4 corners of the batting and outer, and each of the 4 corners of the inner fabric. So you're going to set your gauge to 3/4 inches, 3/4 of an inch, or you're just going to use a regular ruler. And you're going to make marks. You're going to make a mark here and here. So you should have 2 marks there. And then you're going to turn it, line up your ruler, make a mark here, and make a mark here. So now what you can do is you can draw your lines to make your squares, just connecting your marks. And you're going to do that on all 4 corners. And these squares are 3/4 of an inch on each side. So once you've got it on all 4 of your corners on the batting and outer, you're going to cut out all your squares. And you're going to do the same thing for your inner. You're going to make squares 3/4 of an inch on each side on all 4 corners. And then you're going to cut them all out. All right, so now you should have 4 squares on your outer fabric and batting side. Each of these squares should be 3/4 of an inch on each side. And you should have the same squares on your line fabric, 3/4 of an inch on each side of your squares. In all, you should have 8 squares. All of them should be 3/4 of an inch on each side. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to take the corners of your lining fabric squares and you're going to pull them out. So that when you do, they kind of look like this. And it's okay if the seams come apart like here, just a little bit. That'll help you out when you sew. You can fold out the seams. It really doesn't matter either way, whether you do it like that or whether you do it like this. Then you're going to take a pin, go ahead and pin it in place. Then what you're going to do is you're going to sew across this, catching both sides of your square at a 5/8 seam. And you're going to do the same with all 4 of your squares on the line fabric. For the outer fabric and batting, you're going to do just about the same thing, but just remember that when you grab your squares, grab both the outer fabric and the batting. If you don't grab both, then your squares are not going to be right and you're going to have a hole. So get both layers, pull them out as best you can. Pin it and sew across it at a 5/8 seam. And again, you're going to do that for all 4 of your squares. So in all, you should have 8 squares that are sewn across at a 5/8 seam, like this. This is what it looks like when you're done sewing all 8 of your corners. You need to check your corners to make sure that there's no mistakes, but if you've done them correctly, this is what all of your corners should look like. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut the ends of the zipper off even with the bag. You can do this anytime between sewing the loops on and now. They just have to be done before you turn the bag the right way out. Once you've cut the bits and pieces of your zipper off, you can turn it the right way out. Take your time with this because you don't want to tear something, okay? So this is what it's going to look like when you turn it inside out the first time. You can unzip the zipper all the way and you can turn it the right way. And as you're doing this, you need to check to make sure that you don't have any holes in your seams at all. So check like around the zippers, check in the corners, And if there's anything that you need to fix, you need to go ahead and fix it now. You can push out all your corners, make sure everything is right. So yeah, this is what your bag's gonna look like. And so our last step for this bag is going to be to sew the hole that you made in the first place. And this is very easy. You don't really even need to pin it. All you're gonna do is just sew a 5/8 seam along this seam right here. And once you've closed it up, then you can close your bag and it's done. You can put all your school supplies in it.